because these first ones that we're going to be looking at are apparently not as good as the second ones that we're going to be looking at.
Maybe we should just take a minute to quickly discuss what these are. Yeah, so this is Unearthed Arcana. It's a segment. It's not really a segment, but it's a little thing that Wizards of the Coast, the designers of 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, release maybe every month or so. They claim they want to do it on a monthly basis, but it's more sporadic than that. And what it is it's new content for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. It is playtest material that is intended for you to get for free on their website, to look at and read, to give your ideas and give them feedback in the next week when they release, or in the next month when they release the next content. This is the way that they continue to get playtest feedback that is kind of the foundation of 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, and continue to make the game better and make it the game you want it to be. And so this is, like I said, Subclasses Part 2. Actually, I didn't say it before. But this is a group of subclasses. There's one for the Bard, there's one for the Cleric, there's one for the Sorcerer, and that is all. So there are 3 new cool subclass options in here for your games. And we want to just take a minute and look through these and kind of... But Pete and I haven't read these yet, actually. This is a live kind of review, isn't it, Pete?
It is brand new. Our first takes on both the leaked drafts and the finals.
Yeah, so this is a weird one. This first document here was a leak. This was not, they didn't mean to actually release this. And we don't know how many major changes there are, but the big one is the Cleric went from a love domain to which love I think is a pretty flavorful domain for clerics, to a Unity domain, which is just more bland in my opinion. We'll find out though. But yeah, you ready to start diving into this one, Pete?
Indeed, I am. I'm just writing right now.
I can hear you furiously typing.
Clacking away. Oh, I'm sorry. I was put myself on mute next time. I thought I was flying under the microphone radar there.
Now, Pete, when you got to put your mic on a boom arm like mine, and then you'll never hear the clickety clacking.
Ooh.
Also, I have a horrible mush keyboard, which no mechanical buttons here.
Well, I have this much more mechanical keyboard that I don't use because it's so loud.
Whoa.
But yes, let's get into. So I thought the best way to do this, Jeremy, if you're on the same page, would be to look at the leaked and then the real for each one, not do all the leaks and then not do all the great.
So this first Bard,
the Bard. We got the College of Creation here. Mind if I take it away on the flavor here?
Pete, let it rip.
All right, so we have the College of Creation, a new bardic college here, which you get at 3rd level if you're playing a bard. And the flavor is this. Bards believe the multiverse was given existence through word and sound, esoteric harmonies that continue to resound through existence, the Song of Creation. The bards of this college draw on this ancient power through performances of dance, music, or song to bring into being what they need most. Members of this college might have developed their powers during experiences on other worlds or planes of existence. Those who have seen the commonalities of multiple realities might have... Wow, those who've seen the commonalities of multiple realities might have learned...
Does sound like a rap, huh?
Yeah, it feels like I'm about to get into like a musical... You know how musicals always have those like fast rhyming songs? I feel like every musical has one. It felt like one of those. Might have learned how to tap into truths most mortals glimpse only for a moment. Alternatively, the bard might find themselves out of step with their own home plane, reality, or time, their connections to elsewhere allowing them to manipulate the space around them. Regardless of where a bard draws their powers from, other performers might be drawn to them, either to learn their secrets or to put an end to their dangerous manipulation of the Song of Creation. A lot of these like alliterative rhymes here.
I got a thing I want to just... For any of you who are total nerds, who maybe have read the Silmarillion or appreciate Tolkien's grand world that he's created, this is very much like, this is so Middle-earthy. The Song of Creation, which wove the world into existence. It's very Middle-earthy. I like it, but maybe that's just, I'm just like, ooh, I like.
It's like the great sentence of Run-On. Basically the same thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, let's move on to some of these features. So, one of the things I really love here is they actually only get one feature. The Unearthed Arcana has been doing really bad about one third level feature. The Unearthed Arcanas have been really bad about giving like so many features instead of just one nice feature. But this feature is called, they get it third level when they take their Bard subclass, the Note of Potential.
I'll say this one feature does feel like 8, but go on.
You can manipulate the Song of Creation to summon a floating musical note of possibility. Oh dear.
Yeah, a little funky there.
Whenever you give a creature a bardic inspiration die, you can create a note of potential. The note orbits within 5 feet of the creature. The note is a tiny object that is intangible and invulnerable, and it lasts until the creature rolls the bardic inspiration die. A creature with the note can use it in the following ways. Note of Destruction. Immediately after the creature rolls the bardic inspiration die to add it to an attack roll, the creature can expend the note to create a burst of sound. Each other creature within 5 feet of it must succeed on a Constitution saving throw or take spell against your spell save DC, or take thunder damage equal to the number rolled on the bardic inspiration die. Note of Protection. Immediately after the creature rolls the bardic inspiration die and adds it to a saving throw, the creature can expend the note to gain temporary hit points equal to the number rolled on the bardic inspiration die plus your charisma modifier, provided the creature doesn't already have temporary hit points. And Note of Inspiration. When the creature rolls a bardic inspiration die to add it to an ability check, the creature can expend the note to re-roll the bardic inspiration die and must use the second roll.
I was actually accidentally reading the other one, and a lot of it's very similar. So
yeah, well, actually, it's an interesting because we have both of them open, but
so we're right now reading the leaked original version.
This is the leaked original version. Pete, so you were reading along with the other version. What were the differences between the two? Were there anything really substantial that's a difference here?
Not really. The biggest notice, the real point at which I started to notice things were different was when you got to Note of Ingenuity, because it's called Note of Inspiration and not Note of Ingenuity. So they changed the name of it. And it looks like there's a couple of minor details in there that are different, but it's all pretty much, this seems pretty much the same.
A little thing I noted is, and I saw this just kind of intrinsically, this is when the creature rolls the bardic inspiration die, and this one says when the creature uses the bardic, or when the die is lost, implying there are other ways to lose bardic inspiration dice than rolling them.
Yeah, it's a little bit longer, but I think it amounts for most cases to the same thing. But let's talk this first feature, because I feel like we need to go these side by side, because I'll start to lose.
Yeah, I agree.
This more immediately.
What do you think?
It kind of weird.
Yeah,
it doesn't really feel like D&D magic to me. This feels like a video game mechanic almost.
Yeah, I don't like that at all.
Yeah, a weird like floating dancing note that flies around you, and like.
I mean, I think like the kind of idea, I think for me, the issue is that they use the word note, right? Like, I think if it were like an ethereal bauble of creation, right? Or that would be like more.
Yeah, but it specifies it's a musical note.
Yeah, that's what I don't like. Don't be that specific with it, guys.
I might be more inclined to get into this if they had made that.
If they used moat, I would agree after. Moat of creation, much better.
Would be good.
It just feels, I don't know, it needs to feel more whimsical and ethereal, not like a video game animation, in my opinion.
But yeah, it definitely feels, mechanically, let's talk beyond the flavor of this. I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, Note of Destruction is bad. I think that needs to change. But
yeah, it's an option, but it doesn't seem like a very good option, especially like early on when your inspiration.
It's not that. When we're looking at our rubric and we're talking about playability. All right, hooray, guys! We get to roll 1,000,000 extra con saves every turn. Like, please no.
Yeah,
for the love of God.
I'm less bothered by that, even though that's something that usually gets under my skin, because it's like an expended one-time use thing. So it's kind of almost like
5 times.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a 20 charisma,
every turn
for
5.
It's definitely an issue. assuming that it's being used at its full potential. Like balance-wise, I don't really. Do you think it's also weak? Were you saying?
Well, at low levels, it's useless, right?
A D6,
like it's a D6
around you. Yeah.
I mean, like, you know, it's not useless, but
you might kill a kobold, maybe.
I don't know. I don't like it. I think it's just a bit much. It's probably honestly fine, to be frank, but I don't like it.
I will say I like the design of tacking things onto inspiration. So
I do
when
too.
you're using your inspiration already, you add on another thing to it.
I'm sorry, Blood. We didn't mean to kill kobolds. It was an example.
Don't kill kobolds.
I don't know. I like the note of protection. It's just a good all-rounder option. I think the note of inspiration is pretty cool, or I'm sorry, ingenuity, as it is in the current or new one. Should probably have that one open right now. Is fine. Yeah, and honestly, the note of destruction is probably fine and perfectly balanced. It's just, I could see that becoming annoying. That's all.
Agreed.
Especially if it's like I rolled a 2. All right, let me roll fucking 6 con saving throws for 2 damage each.
At absolute capacity, I guess it could be that many.
Well, it could be 9. It could be 8, right? Because if you're surrounded by it,
you could get 8 if there was something on all sides of you, and hopefully, if you're surrounded on all sides, those are minions, so it wouldn't be relevant.
Yeah, I'm not super into this, but I mean, it's not horrible.
It's close. It's close for me.
I think flavor-wise,
it's very far off. But what you say? Solid flavor-wise?
Well, in terms of being music and sound.
Oh yeah.
In terms of being creation, no. But I think this actually does a pretty good music and sound bard option. Just not sure creation is the one to call.
Yeah, that's interesting because there's going on this. It's called Song of Creation or College of Creation for this Song of Creation, but it does seem not really much about like creating things. But we'll see what happens on the next feature.
Yeah, let's talk about this. It's either animating performance or performance of creation.
They flopped them. Oh yeah, they flopped the 2 abilities in the new one.
Oh, did they? So were these at different levels?
Yes, Performance of Creation was the 14th level for the other one and the 6th level. So we'll see what Performance of Creation is here.
Yeah, so your performance can manipulate the magic of creation, briefly transforming the world around you. As an action, you can create 1 non-magical item of your choice in an unoccupied space within 10 feet of you. The item must appear on a surface or in a liquid that can support it. That's weird. The gold piece value of the item can't be more than 10 times your bard level and must be no larger than a 10-foot cube. For example, you can create, for examples of items you can create, see the armor, weapons, adventuring gear, and tools table in Chapter 5 Equipment of the Player's Handbook. The created item disappears at the end of your next turn unless you use your action to maintain it. Anytime you use your action this way, the item's duration is extended up to the end of your next turn, up to a maximum of 10 minutes. If you maintain the item for a full 10 minutes, it continues to exist for a number of hours equal to your bard level. Okay? Once you create an item with this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest or until you expend a spell slot of 3rd level or higher to use this feature. You can only have 1 item created by this feature at a time. If you use this action and already have an item from this feature, the first one vanishes. I'm sorry, the first one immediately vanishes.
Okay. Does that feel unbelievably weak to you?
I don't know. Like, I need to really think about it a lot.
I have no idea what I would do with this feature, frankly.
Yeah, I think it would depend right on what the hell would it depend on?
The only thing, 1 non-magical item.
Number of owls. Yeah, number of owls equal to number of hours. My apologies.
The only thing I can see this being useful for is you can create an object worth 10 times your bard level in gold. And that is literally just creating a 60 gold object when you get this at level 6 and selling it every town that you go to. Because other than that,
so little. What the heck?
Because other than that, all you're doing is making 1 piece of gear.
here's the thing, right? First problem, this isn't a performance. There's nothing performance about this. Second issue I've got is you can't really create anything practical or interesting with this, which is kind of lame.
It takes mega concentration to have the item. So you have to either do it in preparation and like do this 10-minute ritual to have a magic item, or...
Well, I'll say, I think that feature is kind of cool, right? If you concentrate for the full 10 minutes, it becomes permanent. Taking that directly out of like the Wall of Stone spell or something, that seems like a really cool addition. I like that a lot.
I agree, but not for the scale of what you're creating.
Yeah, exactly. The issue here is just with what you can make. What about if they change this in the next feature?
Yeah, do you want to look? It becomes a 14th level feature. Do you want to look at the 14th level one, or do you want to look at...
Well, I looked at the 14th level one, right? So in the other one, it gets bumped up from 6th to 14th level. And action to create a non-magical object within 10 feet of you. Same, got to appear on a surface or liquid that
20 times your bard level for gold, so they give you more.
Oh, and must be larger, smaller. It's got a size restriction on there. Reasonable. Tiny, glittering, intangible notes float around it, and a creature can faintly hear music when touching it. Okay, that's a weird addition.
That actually makes it worse, because
you
get like bluff with it.
Let's see. Your action to maintain it still maximum of 1 minute, and after the minute it lasts for a number of hours equal to your bard level. Just if you're gonna make it a 14th level feature, just make it permanent, guys. Come on. It's like a maximum 400 gold item. Make it goddamn permanent, all right? If you got a level 20 bard that's creating breastplates,
and you can do it again.
Fine.
If you do it again for a 5th level feature, a 5th level spell slot. This is awful.
Well, the problem is it's the stipulations they've put on it that are bad. I think the concept isn't necessarily too bad.
I don't have a problem with the idea of making a thing. I just have a problem with the idea of having my 4th level feature be, I made a cool sword that's mundane and way worse than any gear that anyone in our party already has. Like, because that seems about best case. Like, I just can't picture what you would do. Maybe, no, you can't make a spyglass with it because it's too expensive. I just can't think of anything to do with it.
I don't know. I think if this were, rather than your action to maintain it, just your concentration. I don't know why it has to be your action. But I guess the idea, right, is it's always prepped. But then you only get one thing. I don't know. I think they could use some oomph here. That's all I got.
I think we missed this comment before, but after 232 was saying, just on the previous feature, feels like in terms of playability, it's also a little bit of a weight on players because they have to remember all of the things that Note of Creation can do. There's really definitely a degree of kind of rough for new players, in particularly on this one, with all of the intricacy to that feature. This was a feature that was made for people who already have completely mastered Bardic Inspiration as a concept, and they are, making it more complicated, which that's definitely an issue, I would say.
Beyond that, no, I think what Actor's really getting at, though, right, isn't for the Bard, it's for the other players. It's on the other players, not only to remember to use their Bardic Inspiration, remember what it does, but then also remember these 3 specific class features of this other subclass that they aren't playing.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And I think that's what he was really shooting at there. That is not great design.
Yeah, that's definitely problematic. Because what happens, I feel like, always anyway with the Bard is the Bard becomes, I gave you Bardic Inspiration police.
Yeah, right.
And anytime you do anything, they kind of go, oh, by the way, I gave you Inspiration, if you remember. And then the player goes, oh, yeah. And it's going to be kind of rough if that policing becomes even more intricate. Well, now would be a great time to use this feature that I gave you. Like, that's a little...
Yeah, it becomes very backseat gamey. That's a really, really great note there, After. Thank you for sharing it, because I think that's a really important thing to consider moving forward with that class. And it'd be a great thing to put in the playtest feedback, which they're going to be opening up in the next week or two on their website for these subclasses. So consider that.
let's talk animating performance, which is the final feature.
You want to take this one, Pete? I've taken the last two because I just kind of kept talking.
Yeah, I'd love to. Animating performance. Your mastery over the Song of Creation allows you to bring items to life. When you create a non-magical item using your Performance of Creation feature, you can instill life into it. The dancing item is under your control until the item vanishes or until it is reduced to 0 hit points. In combat, the animated item shares your initiative count, but it takes its turns immediately after yours. It can move and use its reaction on its own, but the only action it takes on its turn is a dodge action unless you take a bonus action on your turn to commit it to take one of the actions in its stat block or the dash, disengage, help, hide, or search action. The word action came up a lot there. When you use your Bardic Inspiration, you can command which action your animated item takes as a part of the same bonus action. That's cool.
Before we keep talking, I just want to. So you were reading this off of the leaked option, the leaked
yes, this is the
version.
Leaked version.
Okay, dancing item, animated item, non-magical. They all 3 different ways they're referring to this item that you animate, and then the search action.
The search action?
Is it called the search action in 5e?
I believe making a perception check is called search action.
Is it really? I've never heard it referred to that way. Maybe I'm a fool.
I'm not certain about that. If someone wants to give us a check on that I might be wrong, but I think that's right. It resonated with me when I heard it.
And actually, it's a great question from Malkara. Also, hello, Malkara. Welcome.
Good evening.
It's great to see you again. It is called the search action. All right, I'm a fool. Thank you, After. The dancing item is under control until it vanishes. When does it vanish?
That's a great question.
So I can see why this was the pre-release, the spoily one.
Or until it is reduced to 0 hit points. So maybe the idea is if it's dispelled by magic.
Let's see what this looks like on the final version, right?
Because there's also the whole dancing item and what it is.
I think I want to look at what
you want to see what the summoning ritual is. Sure.
And this is now a 6th level feature, down from 14th level.
Actually bring items to life. I'm going to read this whole thing out. We'll just go through. So animating performance.
So the size is now got a size cap on it, right? It's any item you can see. It doesn't have to be one you create because you don't get it yet.
Implication here is that you're going to be creating an item with your feature and then make it into a dancing item is the intent here, right?
In the original one, but not in the actual release.
Well, still, it works once you get the other feature. Here you get it earlier, but you can still do it that way.
You can, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I think, yeah. But yeah, it looks like it's the exact same kind of vibe here, exact same mechanics to use. But
it got rid of the vanishing. The animate item uses the dancing item stat block and is under your control for 1 hour or until it is reduced to 0 hit points.
And when you use your Bardic Inspiration, you can command which action your animated item would take as part of the same bonus action. That is a good addition.
That was true on the other one as well.
Oh, well, I missed that.
Which I thought was the coolest thing on here was that extra add-on to your Bardic Inspiration.
But otherwise, it looks pretty similar.
You can't do so again. It adds you can expend a spell slot to get it back.
Yeah, I don't like those. I don't like that new design that they're going with that. But I kind of get it.
I'm not. The jury's still out for me on that one. I haven't seen it played. I'm on the fence.
I'm conceptually opposed to it. But let's talk about this dancing item. Let's see what it does. So in the original one, I mean, they both have the same armor class. Way more hit points in the revised version.
Which is interesting because it's also a lower level feature.
Really weird that it has a land speed but not a fly speed.
Oh, yeah.
Go, sword! Sword rolls toward enemy very quickly.
Yeah, that's a little funky. Senses.
Or maybe it pogo stick hops at them.
It understands the languages that you can speak but cannot speak. I guess that makes sense. Immune to poison.
Ability scores look the same.
And it deals 1d10 plus your charisma modifier force damage on its one attack. And the little other thing it gets is the Endless Waltz. Immediately after it makes a slam attack, it can take the dodge action as a bonus action, which basically means you always dodge with it. So it just attacks against this thing have disadvantage.
Oh, and that's it. It just has one attack.
Yep.
One ability. Okay.
So it's kind of
it's way weaker in the new version.
What was it in the well?
It was 2d8 plus charisma modifier, force damage.
It's 1d10 in this. So yeah, originally it was also the kind of capstone. So I think they nerfed it to make it better for 6.
This sounds like mildly frustrating.
I have
a dodging, like, pretty good amount of hit points. Like, oh my god,
it feels pretty unkillable to me.
I hate this.
It's just like a weird spiritual weapon. It's the best, I think, the most succinct way of putting it together.
Yeah. Like, I almost would rather it not be targetable like spiritual weapon than have a 16 armor class, a ton of hit points, and dodge every round. That's so frustrating.
And it makes sense that it is, but it is kind of annoying. So we've seen the whole breadth of this class, both the way it was and the way it is. What do you think of? Well, for starters, what do you think of the final version of it? You know, not the leaked one, the actual version of it.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about the College of Creation?
I mean, basically, I'm looking at the College of Creation. It looks like, to me, they have some really cool ideas in there. I really like the performance of creation conceptually. It reminds me a lot, actually, of what you were doing with the color board, which is kind of funny to think. I think that just for what After mentioned, you know, the note of potential, I think it needs to be completely reworked. I don't think you can have it like, you can put that what do you call it? You can't put that on your players, on the non-bards, to have to remember the bards features. You can't do it.
Agreed. Also,
and way too limiting on that.
It's funny, the performance of creation. Of course, I would think this is weak. I put a better version of this on a 3rd level feature in addition to other features.
Well, here's the thing. All of the power in this class is in the dancing item. 100%. They've taken all of the cool power out of performance of creation, which is the coolest feature on this item, in my opinion. They've taken all of there's some oomph in the note of potential, but all of the power is in the animating performance. And that's just not a great design, in my opinion. I mean, it can work, but I don't know.
There's no... Kind of one of my issues is they make performance of creation and animating performance, they design them to go together, but it feels like there's no incentive to actually use the object that you've performance of creation other than for flavor. And because it's funny, I believe who said it? After was saying a wardrobe waddling at 40 feet per round. That was the exact thing that I pictured, was an animated wardrobe.
And how much is funny. And the thing, but like, you won't ever be able to make it. That's too expensive, even for your normal bard.
And also, there's no, I guess you could just say, like, as a DM, if someone tried to do that, I'd be like, yeah, of course, you make a wardrobe. You just made a cheap wardrobe that you remembered from your old house.
It's a real crappy wardrobe.
Yeah, it's just a shitty wardrobe, which it's kind of sucks. And also, well, that's the most fun thing, but for doing specifically a wardrobe, that's literally just flavor. It's always going to hit the same way. So there's no reason to pick one thing over another thing.
Yeah, and I think the biggest... So, I mean, overall, there are some really cool concepts in this class. I do really like a lot of concepts in here. I just think the way it all pieces together is bad, right? It needs to be more cohesive. Creation is way too broad of a concept for these weird 3 disjointed themes of musical notes, and I animate a thing, and I can make stuff. It needs to be more specified.
Yeah,
I would rather this be like waltz of, what was it called? Endless Waltz. Like, I think that could be the name of this feature instead of animating performance, because that just is a cooler name too. And if they just made the whole thing music-based, I think that would be a much stronger direction for it.
Yeah, it definitely seems like, frankly, the thing that this seems most like to me and is invoking is not any kind of creation, and Mickey from Fantasia making all of the little, like, objects walk around his house, and the broom walks around and sweeps and stuff like that.
You can only have one.
Yeah, but this feels like the vision that this class wants to hit.
Yep, it just can't do it. And Malkara, thank you. We like the color board. I think it was definitely much more cohesive in its theme and design than this one.
Thank much.
Let's move on to the probably most contentious one here of these Unearthed Arcana, because this one changed a lot, at least in its most important part, in my opinion, which is the flavor of it.
Jeremy, before we do that, it's already 10:15. Would you like to take 5?
Yeah, guys. So we'll actually, when we come back, we're going to jump into the love/unity domain clerics. We're going to look at these guys, and then we will keep on going with all the other cool content we have to share tonight. So we'll be. See you
soon. Bye.
Bye. Oh, welcome back, everyone. Hello, Solar Boy Tango. Welcome.
Good to have you.
Welcome back. And hello, I see Cold Spark and Malkai. Everybody's still hanging out, having a good time. We're just getting into the spicy. Well, I guess this isn't the spiciest part of the night. Maybe it is the spiciest part. It's the love domain.
This is just in time for a couple days after Valentine's Day. We have the love domain cleric. This is from the leaked version.
Yes.
As many of you are aware, I believe Blood Deuce already alluded to it.
Yeah, Blood Chat. I'm irrationally angry about this.
Yes, the Unity domain. They completely reworked the love domain from the way they had it in the leaked version into the Unity domain. And I'm looking forward to seeing why. I haven't read it. Me and Jeremy, as we mentioned earlier, this is our first read-throughs, but Jeremy, you had a little bit of insight into that already?
Yeah, just a teeny bit. So I know part of their reasoning on reworking this love domain was because of some backlash they got from basically people on the internet, because the love domain was maybe just a little bit too assuming, right? This is a subclass that, from what I understand, we're going to find out as we read through it, is all about buffing and supporting your allies. Makes a lot of sense for a Unity domain. But I can understand that being a little bit potentially uncomfortable on the love domain. You know, if you've been around the block enough, everyone's heard horror stories, right, of their DM who role played some really uncomfortable things. You know, who brought the game in a really bad or in a direction that not everyone at the table is comfortable with, or the player that's tried to do something similar. And I can see why they would. I can see why they would step away from the love domain, because you really don't want to empower that kind of behavior, even if that's not obviously not the intent of the subclass.
That being said, I really am kind of disappointed, and I think
love is such a better concept.
Love is a really great concept. There are so many gods in history that are gods of love. It feels like something that the cleric class needs. I actually have a love domain, and I'm like 2/3 of the way through, because I was thinking this too.
Love has been a cleric thing in Dungeons and Dragons for a very long time. You know, the fact that they're backpedaling here, maybe they should have just changed what it does to avoid that overlap, then scrap the concept. But let's see what happens. Yeah, let's look at everything. And of course, if you have strong opinions on this, this isn't final. This is all playtest material. Go on to Wizards of the Coast website when they release their next segment of Unearthed Arcana and do their little survey. It's really quick, takes about 5 minutes, and you can tell them exactly why they should scrap the Unity domain and go back to the love domain. You can do that, and if enough people do that, you'll get it. They'll do it. So
also, maybe
don't be afraid to hear your voice heard
yet, because maybe the Unity domain kicks ass and we haven't read it yet. That's
very true. Well, I'd say if you have strong opinions.
Yes. But let me read the love domain flavor here.
I just wanted to say real quick, I completely agree with Malkara. That's why you discuss your limits in session zeros. Yeah, exactly.
Well said.
But yeah, let's start with take us away.
Love exists in many forms. Compassion, infatuation, friendly affection, and passionate love is a few facets. Whatever form these feelings take, the gods of love deepen the bonds between individuals. It has here a large list of love deities, which we won't go over. Clerics of these gods preside over marriages and other familial bonding customs, but they also nurture the emotional bonds of friendship and camaraderie. Their divine blessings bolster and protect allies in battle through these deep bonds and enkindle flares of infatuations to spur their allies and confound their foes. So yeah, and I guess I can see, immediately where some of these issues are going to be coming from. I see you have a data there.
I love him.
Jeremy is showing off his own bonds of camaraderie here. But I can already see where some people might have been having issues, in particularly protect allies and enkindle flares of infatuation to spur their allies is a little funky off the bat for me. But that's the flavor of it.
I think they definitely could have leaned more heavily into the brotherly love aspect of love than the
more frankly, this is more lusty. This is the phrase flares of infatuation to spur is decidedly
definitely not something they probably wanted to actually get released. But even beyond that, let's look at some of these spells. They gave them some love domain spells like Charm Person. Oh, big yikes. Heroism is fine. Enthrall is fine, honestly. Warding Bond is great. I mean, most of these are pretty good.
Hypnotic Pattern.
But big yikes on Charm Person.
Well,
big
Charm
yikes.
Person has... It's a good spell, but it has a troubling kind of thing about it, which is... Charm Person can be a problematic spell, especially if you're using it on like allies in a game, and it has kind of like they're a little bit. It depends very much on how your DM rules Charm Person and how the player rules it. How the player chooses to use it. I think Charm Person works, but it has connotations that can be tricky.
It's one of those things where that's just get rid of it. The connotations of that are just not okay. There's so much room for it to go wrong, and there's really not that much reason for it to go well. I would say, like,
at my table or in my hands as a player, I have no issue with that.
Yeah.
But in the world,
State of Stop by
Confusion, and then Greater Restoration and Hold Monster. I think all the other ones are fine. I actually don't really get Greater Restoration.
I don't either. I think that was just because they didn't want to do Dominate Monster or Dominate Person.
Confusion, I'm on the fence on as well. I don't...
Okay, well, go looking at those spells, let's be real. Like, Heroism works, Enthrall works, Warding Bond works, Beacon of Hope kind of works. Everything else is like...
Hypnotic Pattern, I'm on the fence on.
I don't know, man. It's all just not that.
Hold Monster
not inspired to me.
Kind of there. But let's start looking at some of the features here.
Yeah, let's look at this Emboldening Bond, this first level love domain feature.
Take it, Jeremy.
Yeah, you can forge an empowering bond between your allies. As an action, you can choose 2 willing creatures you can see within 30 feet of you. This can include yourself. You create a magical bond between them. While either bonded creature is within 30 feet of each other, the creature can roll a d4 and add the ability check, the number rolled, to an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw it makes. Each creature can add the d4 no more than once per turn. This bond lasts for 1 hour or until you use a feature again. And you can use this a number of times you can use feature once, and you regain the ability to do so when you finish a long rest, or you can expend a spell slot to use a feature again. Oh boy, I can see kind of why they got rid of that too. I don't know. That kind of feels like a little shippy to me in a bad way, or at least has the potential to be. You know what I mean? Thank you, sweetie.
Yeah.
Like, outside of the context of Love Domain, this is a really cool feature.
Yeah, but also, beyond that, it doesn't even really feel that much like a love feature. Like, it doesn't scream the concept of love and friendship and understanding kind of to me. It's just these two people both get a buff.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's while they're in 30 feet of each other, and that's supposed to be the mechanical representation of love there. Concept, while they're close to each other, they're better, but...
Yeah, I mean, the concept of these two characters, right, or creatures, have a bond that empowers them. And I think outside of something called love, like a domain called love, that's not, it's fine. I don't think there's any issue. I think when you put the word love on that and you take the agency out of those two creatures' choices and you can just say this is a thing, that's where that gets weird. and I can see why they got rid of it. Even though it's a cool feature mechanically, in my opinion.
It's close. It's close.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing: when you have a lot of "it's close," that equates to a whole.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this next feature, which I'm sure is bad. It's called impulsive infatuation.
Yeah, that's
you want to take that one, Pete?
I would. You can use your channel divinity to overwhelm a creature with a flash of short-lived but intense admiration for you, driving them to rash action in your defense. As an action, you present your holy symbol and choose one creature you can see within 30 feet of you. That creature must make a wisdom saving throw. A creature can choose to fail this saving throw if it wishes. On a success, the creature is unaffected. On a failure, the creature is charmed by you until the start of your next turn and must immediately use its reaction to make a weapon attack against a target you designate. If there are no valid targets, it uses its reaction to admire you. Actually, I really like this. I think that this is totally fine, frankly.
Bad name, pretty cool ability, actually.
Yeah. I also love that if there are no valid targets, it uses its reaction to admire you. Is pretty funny.
That is a pretty troll little addition there.
This, I think, is a cool feature. It is not as problematic as I thought impulsive infatuation would be. It doesn't really get... I mean, there's the implication, and frankly, the idea of becoming an object of desire to people is a character concept that people like, and a lot of players would enjoy, and using that in this situation where it's sort of like, you know, it's a single action, you're not like coercing the character to act in any way, it's just like, protect me because you love me, and they're like, yes, I will. I think that's totally okay. What are your thoughts, Jeremy?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that is very much reasonable. The one thing I would probably say here is there's an implication, because it says like a creature must make the saving throw, but they can choose to fail if they wish. There's like a weird implication here that you cast this on allies and that they might not want to choose to fail the saving throw because, like, for whatever reason. And I think you just need to have a stipulation that like a hostile creature or a willing friendly creature within, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it just doesn't.
That's all.
It just seems unnecessary on here.
You're probably right. It just, there's an implication because you cast it on allies as like part of the core concept of the feature. Or you might cast it on allies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think there just needs to be a thing where a player can say no and not have to roll a saving throw just to say no on it.
Oh, you're saying it has to be on an ally. There's probably no way to do that in a way that isn't.
Yeah, no, a willing friendly creature or an unwilling hostile creature, right? I mean, I think you just have to add that stipulation in there.
Yeah, and some of it'll come across.
That's all. I mean, it's just when you're making an ability that you cast on allies, like I've seen and I've done this, and that's why I know this is bad, right? I have polymorphed a friendly creature into a T-Rex thinking, that's going to be really cool. They didn't have a lot of hit points left. It's going to be great. And I've done that without asking them, and it's really bad. Don't ever do that. Don't do that. When you take away your friend's agency, it's really bad. It's really poor table etiquette. And this has the potential, right, of doing that, but with an even weirder context that I want to make you a cool T-Rex, right?
But would you say, and the issue I think you're having is the flavor.
No. It's just the mechanical stipulation.
Really?
That's all.
Because what about?
I think the flavor is pretty cool. I think using this on a monster is fine.
But what about things like commanding strike? The reason you have that issue is because of the flavor. Like commanding strike, you would never say. Okay, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All I really want to say there isn't that I'm opposed to the flavor. It's that when you have flavor like this that has, for a lot of people, very, very charged, right? Like emotional baggage and emotional connection, you really need to be careful with it. And I think this, obviously it was a leaked version, a leaked draft. Well, Blood, you're saying that, right? Like, I'm sorry, I'm just getting constructed by chat, but it's not a class subclass issue, it's a playstyle issue. You're right, but this ability empowers you to cast spells on your allies.
I'd like to catch up on chat actually a little bit here.
Yeah, please do.
So when we were talking about Charm Person, Malkara was saying people often misunderstand how Charm Person works, but the question is, it works as the player being charmed will only go as far as the player is willing to go, or the character is willing to go, which is true, but I think there's enough misunderstanding in Charm Person anyway. Even if people are wrong, if that's how people play it, that becomes...
All Charm Person does is make it so you can't attack them. That is mechanically all the spell does.
Yeah, and it gives you advantage on charisma checks against them.
Yeah.
And Blood Deuce was kind of advocating for love with, while it could be misused and create awkward tension, it can be an extremely fun and flavorful subclass.
Absolutely. I
want to talk a little bit about this because this is, I think, touching on some of the same issues that we were having when we were talking about the hero paladin. Because, and one of the core things about the hero paladin is it has the potential in the flavor of it for someone to become a problem player at the table by using it. And with the hero paladin, I was actually completely okay with that for the hero paladin, personally, because I don't like to ignore a great design because there's a chance that some people might use it.
Might misuse it, you're saying.
Misuse it. Misuse it in a poor way. This is a much more extreme... The misuse of someone being a hero paladin and thinking that there's someone that's the center of attention is a lot less problematic than someone misusing this and making people at the table legitimately out of character uncomfortable. So it's a much more dangerous misuse case.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, just to sum up, while I'm usually in your favor, even though it has the potential to have that problem, I'd usually be of the camp, that's fine because it could be great too. I think you need to be a little bit more careful of this one.
Yeah, and it's kind of, Blood was saying, I feel like I'm being attacked right now because everyone's so queasy over the love domain's interesting and nuanced flavor. Yeah, no, it's got a lot of interesting and nuanced flavor to it. I'm with you. I like the concept of a love domain. I just think you really have to be careful when you give someone the tool to do something bad, right? You gotta be careful with that kind of stuff. You gotta make sure that there are things in place so that they don't do that. And part of a friendly creature automatically succeeds on this saving throw if they so choose would be a way to do impulsive infatuation, right? So that you can't force an ally into this situation that might make them uncomfortable.
A point that Maddie pointed out on Emboldening Bond, I believe someone else did as well. Who was it? Cold Spark. The creatures have to be willing for Emboldening Bond. I don't know if we talked about that at all, but that does...
so that's good. Okay.
That does improve that quite a bit, yeah.
Yeah, all right. That changes things a lot. In that case, I'm not sure if I have any problems with that. It does say willing, yeah.
Yep.
All right, fair enough. Redacted. Emboldening Bond, good. Impulsive Infatuation, good, but it needs some extra rule in there.
And again, the morally gray toying with emotions cleric that you're kind of getting at, Blood Deuce, that's a cool aesthetic. I agree. You just don't want to be... You want to be toying with the emotions of NPCs, probably, and maybe not your fellow player characters.
Or at least, if you're going to do that, you need a game where everyone at the table is okay with that. You can't just put that into the game and then expect that everyone's going to be good with it, right?
Melkara was saying, why would you want to control an ally? Hitting the wrong button if you used a fellow PC. And Farfel was saying it's kind of like the Order Cleric thing. Yeah, it's like you do that so that
much
they get
more
to make
complicated.
It's just a really roundabout way of they get to make a reaction attack against an enemy with a weird flavor to it.
Well, let's keep moving on because at this point we've gotten really hung up on this channel divinity. Let's talk about Protective Bond. You want to take this one, Peter? Or you want me to?
I'm sorry. I just want to read the last thing in chat here.
Oh, sure. Sorry.
Matty Morris was saying that's why if it was called something like leadership domain, nothing at all would change or be as controversial because love is such an individual concept and our modern concept of loves are different than history or myth. It upsets others. Yeah, I mean that's I think why they went with the Unity, and I think we'll see a lot of similar features in Unity.
Farfel saying it's specifically like a bad way of doing it, Lunar Cleric. I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily a bad way. I think conceptually, it's actually a really flavorful, cool ability. I like this ability.
I agree. If it was just that, it would be, but the fact that it's the best case use is you use it on an enemy for them to attack another enemy. That's why it's a bad option, Order Cleric, is because there's also this kind of better option that's the more intended use case, I think.
Yeah, so let's talk about Protective Bond, the 6th level feature.
Great.
The bond you forge between people shields them from harm. When either creature chosen by your emboldening bond feature is within 30 feet of each other, the creatures can use its reaction to gain resistance to all damage to the other. Wait. The creature can use its reaction to grant resistance to all damage to the other creature when that other creature takes damage. This resistance lasts until the end of the current turn. Whoa! The fuck?
Whoa. So it's just two people get to use their reaction to take half damage.
Forever. I really dislike this. From just a balance perspective.
Like, my fighter and my barbarian now both have mega uncanny dodge. That seems really good.
Yeah, that's incredibly powerful.
The flavor on it doesn't quite match up. Like, I get the idea is like, I'll protect you.
No!
You can't hurt my dear friend and lover, but that doesn't pan in the design, and it's way too good.
Yeah, it was really, really, really good. Also, there's another like minor issue besides the balance. Even if they like made it, you reduce the damage by a D10 or something. I think the bigger issue here, or part of a bigger design issue, is good luck having them ever use their reaction for anything besides this forever now.
And like, everyone who doesn't have it is going to be mad.
Yeah, oh, exactly, right? Because, oh my God, there's, 3 people in the party? Or 4 people in the party, and there's you.
Sick buff.
Yeah, and then the third person just, well, I'm left out. I'm not loved, which actually that is another thing to consider, but not really. That one's kind of a more, whatever. But yeah, that's way too strong.
It's really good.
I mean, what do other clerics get at 6th level, right? Like,
not that. Not half damage.
Like, because I'm just trying to think, what do other clerics get? I mean, the light domain gets what? They get improved flare. They can use their reaction to use their warding flare on a different attack, so impose disadvantage on an attack. This is just so much stronger.
Yeah.
My God.
This is ridiculous.
All right. Well,
8th level. They get potent spell casting. Every cleric always gets either potent spell casting or divine strike, which makes their auto attacks better. This is a spellcasty one. They gave him the spellcast one. Non-controversial.
Mm-hmm.
Enduring Unity. May I?
Please. I'm eating a pretzel.
The 17th level feature here. The bonds you create endure across vast distances. Creatures affected by your emboldening bond feature gain its benefits as well as those of your protective bond feature while they are on the same plane of existence as each other. Additionally, when a creature chosen for your emboldening bond is reduced to 0 hit points, their bonded partner gains the following benefits for 1 minute or until the creature regains at least 1 hit point. The creature has advantage on attack rolls, ability checks, and saving throws. The creature has resistance to all damage. As an action, the creature can touch their bonded partner to expend and roll any number of hit dice. Their bonded partner regains a number of hit points equal to the total rolled. It's good. I don't personally necessarily love it when a class puts all their eggs in one basket and every single thing you get is just another. They keep making the emboldening bond feature bigger and better.
Yep.
Because for me, the play style here is just you get to emboldening bond once, and
well, you can use a spell slot to do it again.
But it gets rid of the first one, so you're just changing the bond. Which, after you've done that first emboldening bond, that's just you've done your whole love cleric thing. You're done being a love cleric.
Yeah, and I mean, this feature has so many problems. A huge amount of its power comes from something not being conscious, which is just oh no, 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 no. Like, that's just a bad design from the get-go. When, you know, your bard is better served being unconscious to give your level 20 fighter, you know, advantage on all their stuff and resistance to damage, that's not a good design, buddy. Very bad. I mean, I could just see this being like, all right, well, there's a Tarask. Little Jimmy, you've been traveling us for a long time. I love you. Stab. I'm invincible. I've killed little Jimmy, and now I have advantage on all my stuff. But I loved him. It's kind of like Thanos, really.
That is a problematic use case. Obviously not the intended use case.
No, of course not.
But if it can do that, then people will be trying to do that in games.
You'll see it. Yeah. You'll absolutely see it. I mean, that's a minor design hole. I think this planar aspect could be cool, but I'm with you. It just needs to be more about love and less about emboldening bond. You know?
Yeah, this is not a love cleric; it's an emboldening bond cleric. But actually, all said and done, I'm pretty close to being cool with this design. Like, from a flavor standpoint and from a
all jokes
problematic, I don't actually see this as that problematic because it has that willing caveat and emboldening bond. I just think that the design is a little lackluster for what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think the really straight and narrow of it is this isn't too bad. I mean, this would have made a pretty good cleric. I think it could have been more flavorful for a love cleric, the more diverse abilities that tied into the concepts of maybe brotherly love a little bit, or different aspects of love. Impulsive infatuation just needs a little bit of rules tweaks to make it not to completely remove the chance of the creepy. And protective bond is busted beyond reason, but otherwise, not too bad.
Yeah, we want to look at the Unity cleric now.
Yeah. Let's try and run through this guy a little quicker if we can. Right.
Yeah, I think that this will be a less controversial one.
I mean, right. A sense of oneness shines at the heart of healthy communities. Whether bound together by friendship, blood, faith, or some other uniting force, the gods of unity deepen such bonds and delight in their strength. Okay, this is a community cleric, really. Clerics use gods of marriages and other familial bonding customs, but they also nurture the emotional bonds of friendship and camaraderie. Their divine blessings bolster and protect allies in battle through these deep bonds and turn aside malign influences. They could have just kept this called the love domain and just used this intro.
Yeah.
And it would have been fine. No one would have questioned that. Okay. The spells, we get Heroism and Shield of Faith instead of Charm Person, and some more protecty options. They're pretty similar. Rarest Telepathic Bond, Pete!
8 is a pretty good one.
Yeah, it's pretty solid.
It feels decent. Beacon of Hope is okay.
I mean, that was on the other list, too.
Actually, I really like Sending.
I do, too.
I think that's actually a really flavorful choice. Greater Restoration and Rarest Telepathic Bond. Yes, I still don't get Greater Restoration. Rarest Telepathic Bond is I kind of get it.
It looks like Emboldening Bond is basically the same thing. There's no real difference, it looks like. There's none. They're identical.
Shared Burden.
Shared Burden, this is interesting. You can use your Channel Divinity to protect your allies through the strength of your shared bonds. When a creature can see within 30 feet of you takes damage, you can use a reaction to choose a number of willing creatures. You can see up to your Wisdom modifier minimum of 1 and distribute the damage between the original target and the chosen creatures. Each creature must take at least 1 damage. Apply damage resistance and vulnerability of the creatures involved after you distribute the damage.
It's
okay. Complicated.
I kind of like it. It seems kind of slow. It's a cool idea, but it seems slow. I guess that's my thinking, is when your cleric uses this on a big hit and then that's gonna kill our rogue. Let's move it around, and then everyone's volunteering, all right, well, I need to be at this health at least, so I can only.
Well, it's evenly distributed. It's not an even distribution.
That's why I'm saying it's a little slow.
I don't like this at all. And even beyond that concept,
I like the idea.
No. I hate the concept of it, Pete.
Well,
as a player who's played with the goddamn Death Cleric or the Grave Cleric or whatever one cancels crits, as a dungeon master, that's stupid. Get that out of here. Crits are a dramatic turn in the combat that adds so much drama to what's going on. Being able to just throw those away and pretty much remove them from the game, which is what that mechanic does in the Grave Domain Cleric, is bad. I think it's really bad design for the game. And I think this has a very similar potential issue. At least in my experience, dungeon mastering, that's my personal
agree
take.
with you about the Grave Cleric, but I think for one thing, the fact that this is on a channel divinity and not just you get to do this 5 times,
maybe
makes it a little bit more reasonable. Because realistically, I think shared burden happens once. I guess at high levels you get 3 of them, but there's other things to use channel divinity for, which I guess is just the thing. I don't know. Maybe you're right.
That's my personal take. I mean,
especially at second level when you get it, having this happen one time is a cool, because I don't think there is anything in the game that is my ally's about to die, I save them as a reaction. And that I think that's legitimately cool and something that doesn't take away from gameplay. I think like it's cool for that to be in the game.
And comment about in chat, one from Blood Dew saying no one's actually going to ever use aid. I've seen people use aid. I really like the spell personally. But then Farfel is kind of the bigger picture. I love the Grave Cleric, but have not had to DM for one yet. So ... Yeah, well, and I think that's kind of my point, right? It's not because it's not fun for obviously it's, and a little annoying for the DM. But most DMs aren't or shouldn't be adversarial toward their players. So it's not a problem in that regard. It's a problem in that it makes it more challenging for the DM to build that drama, build that tension that makes combat exciting in 5e, because it takes away that little bit of randomness. It's great. The players love it. They love playing with it. And in that way, it's a great ability.
Yeah, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, right?
It's really good.
But yeah.
I am...
And then the one time that Cleric uses an opportunity attack and can't use it, and then they feel like shit. Because they're like, well, I made a fun attack, so I can't use my ability. Boo-hoo.
I'm into shared burden. I think there's a better way of doing it rather than redistributing. Maybe if it was something like the Cleric, the Cleric just takes half of the damage and has resistance to it, or something like that. The Cleric takes half the damage, or not the resistance, rather. Then it's very
complicated. I think it's a bigger. Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's
protective bond is kind of the next piece here. It's the same. It's still resistance.
Oh well, then it's still too good. Is Enduring Unity the same thing?
Well, and beyond that, it's actually better. This resistance lasts until the end of the current turn, so it's against all of the attacks from the same creature, not just one attack.
Yeah, that's the other one too. Was that?
Oh, does it? Wow, I hate that. That's even worse than I thought. I thought it was against one attack. Oh my god. Burn it with fire,
that's
please.
What I was saying. It's not Uncanny Dodge. It's Mega Uncanny Dodge.
So potent spell casting there
is also the same.
Okay, so basically it's the exact same thing. They've just taken the love concept and turned it into a community concept. I don't think they needed to do that. I mean, I think they could have, I don't know, it just fit better as a community concept, I think. I don't know. I'm just very, about this all over.
Blood Dew says can't burn it with fire. They've got fire resistance now.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a bit about this Clockwork Soul real quick, because I think for the most part this is very much the same between the two. I'm looking at it now and it seems to be
Clockwork Soul, a plane of utmost order. Mechanus is a realm. Yes. Mechanus is a realm overseen by a godlike entity called Primus, whose actions are inscrutable and calculations vast. You or someone from your lineage might have become entangled in one of the machinations of the leader of the Modrons. Perhaps you were exposed to an artifact created by Primus, or your ancestor took part in the Great Modron March in some way.
I love this a lot already.
The Great Modron March, for anyone not familiar, is when all the Modrons walk across. Is it the all planes?
Yes, all play. They walk around the Great Wheel, just kind of walking.
Yeah, and they just go on a little jaunt. The power of mechanics can seem strange and alien to others, but for you, it is part of a vast and glorious system that others can't comprehend. At your option, you can pick from or roll on the manifestations of Mechanist table to create a way your connection to the plane manifests while you are casting a spell.
So these are some really cool abilities. I really like this table, right?
I agree.
Like, I will say I read ahead a little bit while you were reading. Large spectral cogwheels appear hovering behind you. Sick. The hands of a clock appear in your eyes. Fucking sick. Your skin glows with a golden metallic sheen.
Not as sick, but it's fun.
I mean, that brass aesthetic is cool, though.
Yeah.
Your features become unnaturally angular, like geometric objects. I love it. I love it. Your spellcasting focus takes the form of a miniature spawning stone or some other creation of Primus. For those unaware, spawning stone is a horrible black obelisk in the my brain, pandemonium, from which all Slotty are created. Which are Slotty are creatures of absolute chaos.
The ringing of a clock can be heard by you and those affected by your magic.
This is sick. I love it. It's great. It's very flavorful.
Restore balance. The first level feature here.
Wow, it's different in I guess it's different between the two. I lied.
All right. Your connection to the plane of absolute order allows you to equalize chaotic moments. When a creature you can see within 60 feet of you is about to make an attack roll, an ability check, or a saving throw with advantage or disadvantage, you can use your reaction to grant that creature both advantage and disadvantage. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your charisma modifier, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest.
For those unaware, if you have both advantage and disadvantage, they cancel out and you have nothing. So that's
a funny way of doing that. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
I like the way that they wrote that way instead of doing it as like you just roll normally. That's a very cool way of doing it.
It's really interesting because they actually. I'm sorry. It is still in the other subclass as a first level feature, and that is they just changed it from attack roll, ability check, or saving throw to just a D20 with advantage or disadvantage.
Now.
They broadened it a little.
Now, how do you feel about this mechanically, though?
I love it. I think it's actually pretty cool.
I am a little bit more on the fence. I love the idea of taking away your ally's disadvantage, but I'm less into cutting away enemy advantage. Also, it doesn't necessarily... Equalizing chaotic moments doesn't actually necessarily feel like advantage or disadvantage to me, I guess. Because, like, for example, if someone, for example, sneaks up on you and then they jump you, that doesn't feel like a chaotic moment in the sense that, like, things have gone wacky. That just feels like they prepared better.
That engages with a different rule entirely, though, because that's a surprise. You can't take reactions if you're surprised.
You got me on that, Jeremy. You done got me. But I think there's a lot of examples we could both come up with.
Yeah, and I know. I'm just goofing. In the new version, they also got some clockwork spells, which I believe, if I read this correctly, you learn additional spells when you reach certain levels in this class. They count as sorcerer spells, but don't count against the number of spells you know. Very important. Sorcerers really need spells. That's one of the big issues with the subclass or with the class.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool addition.
One of these days, they're going to give sorcerers extra spells in all subclasses.
Yeah. Alarm, protection from evil and good, find traps, heat metal, counterspell, gift of warding, arcane eye, Luke's resilient sphere, animate objects, wall of force.
Great.
They're all fine.
Yeah.
Nothing there really screams besides alarm. None of those really scream clockwork to me personally.
Protection from evil good is kind of this balance theme that they're going for. Find traps a little bit for me does figure out what the mechanics are. Heat metals on the fence.
Yeah, most of these are just kind of there though.
Animate objects is on the fence.
Well, anyway, so we got restore balance. Let's talk about this next ability, Bulwark of Law. And again, I think these abilities are basically the same. Yeah, they are. You can imbue a creature with a shimmering shield of order. As an action, you can expend 1 to 5, oh boy, sorcery points, to create a magical ward around yourself or another creature you can see within 30 feet of you. The ward lasts until you finish a long rest or until you use this feature again. The ward is represented by a number of d8s equals to the number of sorcery points spent to create it. Oh, Christ. When the warded creature takes damage, you can use its reaction to spend a number of those dice, roll them, and reduce the damage taken by the total number of dice.
It was D6s in the original.
Okay, that would be horrific in the original. I still think this is bad and complicated.
I'm trying to wrap my head around it still.
This reminds me of a really bad Abjuration Wizards, abjurative, whatever the hell you call it.
Yeah, okay.
Sorcery points are so expensive. They're such an expensive resource for sorcerers in play. They have so few of them. This just feels so expensive for very little value.
Again, sort of also I'm not sure if I'm getting Shimmering Shield of Order.
Yeah, not getting that either. You're calling it order, but nothing about this is order.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it. It's not very good. I just I like the idea. Would you
ever use it if you were playing the subclass?
Exactly, that's the problem. I like the idea of Bulwark of Law, but it's not good enough to justify its use.
I like the name Bulwark of Law.
Oh yeah,
I just don't think this is a Bulwark of Law.
Well, I like having the idea of having a shield with a pool that you can kind of pull from, like a discrete temporary hit points almost.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a cool concept. It just isn't executed well. So I'm basically with you.
And then Trance of Order is a 14th level feature. And is that going to be the same between the two?
You read the new Trance of Order and oh no, it's not even close. Oh wait, no.
So Trance of Order, you gain the ability to enter a state of clockwork consciousness as a bonus action. For the next minute, attack rolls against you can't benefit from advantage. Pete, I did this! And whenever you make an attack roll with a check or saving throw, you can treat a D20 roll of 9 or lower as a 10. Oh my. Once you use this action, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest or until you expend 5 sorcery points to use it again.
In the original version, it was an action to go into this. Is the only difference.
Okay. So I want to just make a comment about the treating a roll of 9 or lower as a 10. This is a direct rip from the Rogue. Yeah, exactly. The Rogue's reliable talent feature. I don't like it personally because I just don't enjoy it. But I have played with a couple of rogues that absolutely love that feature. Their favorite thing about Dungeons and Dragons Hardstop is using that feature because they get to feel like they're actually reliably good at this thing. No amount of RNG can screw them over.
Agreed. I mean,
this is very good.
I don't know. It's very good. Yeah. 5 sorcery points to use it again.
Big yikes.
I mean, it just seems like you shouldn't be able to use it again, frankly.
I agree. Yeah, just get rid of that, please. This is a very strong ability.
Yeah. 5 sorcery points might even be the right number. It's just you should just only still be able to use it once.
Exactly. You don't want to be baiting people into blowing all of the... the point of sorcery points, you can do all sorts of different cool, fun stuff. If you're only using it for one thing, I don't know. Blood Deuce is saying in chat, I would definitely use it in regards to the Bulwark of Law. And let me rephrase, Blood. I think the issue is the number of D8s you get for the number of sorcery points you get or that you spend. I think that value's off on Bulwark of Law. And I think that's where you were at too, right, Pete?
Yep, similar.
Yeah, you just need more value out of this than...
And in the same vein, I want to use my sorcery points to do cool things with my spells, not to make a Bulwark of Law.
Exactly. I think this would be a cool idea if this were, you can use the number of times equal to your charisma modifier, and just the number of dice were
2d8 or something. I don't know.
I mean, it could be a number of, I feel like you could do half your level or a quarter of your sorcerer level, maybe. Or
just a flat number. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. You could do some level. Well, anyway, so that was Order. Pete, you want to talk about Clockwork Cavalcade? Because this is a really whack one.
The answer is yes, I very much do. I love this name. You summon spirits of order to restore balance around you. As an action, you summon the spirits in a 30-foot cube originating from you. The spirits look like Modrons or other constructs of your choice. The spirits are intangible and invulnerable, work fast and efficiently, and create the following effects within the cube before vanishing. For starters, this seems so chaotic and wacky, ironically.
I love it.
The spirits restore up to 100 hit points, divided as you choose among any number of creatures of your choice in the cube. Holy shit. Any damaged objects entirely in the cube are repaired. Great. Every spell of 6th level or lower ends on creatures and objects of your choice in the cube. Once you use this action, you can't use it again to the official long rest or until you expend 7 sorcery points to use it again. Get rid of that again. I almost wish that you didn't have a choice about the third feature. It was just every spell ends.
Yep.
It feels kind of weird for you to be like, you're restoring order, and it's like, restore order, but just to them.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it'd be a lot more flavorful. I like this a lot.
I do too. It's cute.
30-foot cube originating from you is weird. Because that's like in front of you like a thunder wave. I think how that's supposed to be.
Like it feels like it should be
an aura.
Or the center of the cube.
Yeah. Like a 15-foot radius.
How?
That'd be a 30-foot cube.
It feels too quick because I want this to be there for a while, even though it only takes a second. Doesn't this feel like it should take like a minute?
I feel like this would be really cool because let's be real. I mean, I don't know.
It just happens so fast.
It would be really cool if they stayed around.
I think it would be cool.
You know what would be really neat?
What if 3 rounds and it does each of these effects on a round and you're choosing order?
No, instead of that, what if it happens in 1 round, like exactly like it is here, keeping the complication simple, right? But instead of spirits, they're real Modrons, and then they just lie around on the ground after.
I still don't know how I feel about this.
That sounds great to me.
Jeremy, I want Clockwork Cavalcade to be Storm of Vengeance for Modrons.
I do too. And let's just talk. What we're arguing about here is we love this ability and we want it to be even more than it already is. Just to clarify for the chat.
Yeah. Anyway, final thoughts. This is the best one of these that I think pretty clearly.
Clockwork Soul has the fewest problems
by a large margin.
Yeah,
I'm close to just saying that, like, well, frankly, if someone wanted to play this in my game, I'd have absolutely no issue with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, I was saying Bulwark of Law has some problems. But you know what? If I actually looked at all the sorcery points and what they did and how much they cost, maybe that is an appropriate number of sorcery points. It just doesn't feel like that to me. You know what I mean? Especially because you use your action to do it too. You know what actually would be really cool? If you got this for free, Bulwark of Law, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it happened when you cast one of your Clockwork spells, and the number of D8s was the level of the spell. That'd be sick.
Interesting.
Tell me, come on. Tell me it's not great. I love that.
Interesting. Maddie,
I see you don't necessarily agree.
No, I'm with you. I'm just taking a moment to take it in. Also, I was trying to catch up a little bit on chat here. And After was saying that they think Clockwork Soul is absolutely glorious flavor. Agreed.
Oh yeah.
Favorite from the batch also agreed. The Blue Boy is saying, wouldn't that neutralize Elf Fey Blood trait if they're trying to charm an elf? Yeah, that's the kind of thing I was talking about, where it was like, they have advantage because they're an elf, and then Order's like, no, you're not have a Fey ancestry. That's
but
why
we hate elves here.
There it is. That's not true at all. Matty Blood saying, going by that argument I think I made on the spell slot thing, it also wouldn't heal just you, which is, I think, a fair point and an issue with my thing. But
Well, overall, I mean, this is a really cool class. It's a pretty flavorful subclass. I'm Bloods with me. The Bulwark of Law setup would be way cooler. But oh gosh, Blue Boy was asking if the stream was over. Nope, sorry, Blue Boy, it was just Wi-Fi. Blood was saying Clockwork Soul feels more like a soul of neutrality. Yeah, that does. It's just very much themed for the Forgotten Realms in the concept of Mechanus in that plane, which
I love that lore already, so I'm kind of already sold in on this to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm. I am as well, if you can't tell I love Modron. But anyway, Pete, overall, let's just very quick. Clockwork Soul we said was great. I mean, a few minor fixes here and there.
The good old-fashioned recap.
Unity domain / love domain.
Fine.
Yeah.
Is my answer.
Fine could just use some more stuff to be a little safe. I don't really think the love domain really had too many problems. It just needed a little bit less emphasis on the of love and a little bit more on the community aspect of love.
Really, that is fine with the love domain. The issue with love and unity is actually just the emboldening bond and how it's just the only thing the class gets, really.
Yeah.
And then,
speaking of the only thing a class gets, this bard.
Yeah, College of Creation, I think, was the one that was the furthest off. I don't know. I wasn't a fan of it, but
I think Note of Potential is just garbage now with the revelation that the person who gets the inspiration has to remember the abilities. It's just not good design. Animating performance is fine. It's just going to be annoying with the dancing item.
And Performance of Creation could have been cool, but it kind of just a little.
I think it can be. I think it can still be very cool. It just needs something else.
Underwhelming for a 14th level feature, certainly.
Fair. But, it also feels like if you're going to be a College of Creation, you want to be able to create things earlier, right? Kind of like what you had done, put together with the color bard, right? Being able to create, if that's the name of your college,
you should be able to do that concept. When you start using your college.
Absolutely, needs to really hammer that in.
And I don't think that College of Creation would be problematic with that as the third level. Like, that feature could be a third level feature, honestly, for me.
It's weird as it scales with your bard level, so why is it not like...
Yeah, at 14th level, it doesn't matter that it scales with your bard level.
Exactly. Like, what are they thinking? What item are they thinking of? Well, at level 20, you can do 400, but at level 14, you can only do 300, or 208, or whatever.
But Jeremy, I don't want to talk about these classes. I want to talk about the class I've been most looking forward to talking about tonight.